Does it strike anybody as odd that nobody's mentioned the MLK files? I haven't seen anybody talk about them. Because I think what people do is they just ask AI, what is there anything new learned in the JFK files? Is there anything new learned in the MLK files? You can't trust AI. I mean, I'll use AI just to see if it, but you can't, you have to look yourself. So I've been looking, I just think it's strange because I even asked AI, I'm like, why isn't anybody even talking about the MLK files? And given that they just took my video down where I was talking about what the MLK files said in some of it, portions of it, it makes me think that it's maybe very important to know what's in there. But historians have told us that everything the FBI says is false. And that, oh, King wasn't tied to communists. Okay, well, he did have interactions with some of them. Okay, and so again, all of these groups exploded. Like, I don't give a shit what anybody says. The Black Panthers, all these groups, they were just meant to divide people. They were meant to divide this country, try to do a coup and overthrow it. That's what they hate. They hated it long before I was born. They will hate it long after I'm dead. That they work, if you know anything about the Marxist agenda, the Communist Manifest, it works slowly. It's fine with being patient and getting to its goals, okay? But in the 60s, especially JFK, they were springing up everywhere. And here is why it should not be disregarded what the FBI says, at least the FBI then, because even though I think the FBI was changed because of JFK and the CIA, it was changed more over time, even after. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, if MLK likely was a victim, I mean, I would say, yeah, I mean, obviously they were victims, but were they tied to something nefarious? I think it wouldn't even matter if they were or they weren't. They just used these people, these communists, to, you know, because these groups, they don't care who they have to join with. They don't. They just want the numbers. And what do we have going on right now? We have Charlie Kirk being pushed. All these people with millions of followers that I think are bullshit artists, okay? I don't care if Trump supports Charlie Kirk. Don't care. I don't. I'm going to go with my gut because I trust God, okay? My gut tells me it's no good. It's people wanting to control everyone. That's why I don't like it. Okay, and then when we don't even have free speech and they're just taking down my video that's literally talking about this stuff, that's even more concerning. So here's some from the MLK files, okay? As you can see right below me, I'm not going to read this first paragraph, but a special, let me read it from here. A special information report dated the 30th of January 1968 stated that the Reverend Bernard Lafayette Jr. was a former field secretary of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, a program administrator for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, as well as being very close to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The state board, and then where it's highlighted, the state board of the Communist Party in Illinois decided that although the demands of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference are unrealistic and its program unclear, there should be a fight to mobilize around this program. The board desired Communist Party participation in contingents from Chicago, Illinois, in the campaign and Communist Party support for the mass demonstrations in Washington, D.C., presently planned to take place on May 30th, 1968. And then it just goes on to say an FBI cable in 03488 dated May 3rd, 1968, authenticate an FBI source who has provided reliable information in the past. So you can, now the historians, but who are the historians? They come from the universities, right? The universities are so far left, radical, crazy communists that's why I don't trust many historians, okay? So this is all through here, all through the MLK files. And again, I'm not trying to attack MLK, okay? Um, we're never going to know who killed these people. Because if they were circling with communists or because that's the problem with this. Do you see? So the Communist Party here in America, like, again, why can't they just move? Like, really, there's so many communist parties you could go be happy in. But see, they're just about destroying America. That's why the Communist Party is anti-American. On the face of it, it is. So the very fact that the Southern Christians Conference would want their support should tell everybody none of these groups are legit, which is why I don't like seeing what these groups are doing now. I mean, Charlie Kirk loves to put himself up on a pedestal that he represents the young vote. No, you're just wanting to control people just like these people did. You're just doing it on the right, and you know you are. See, this is all about protests. Seattle, Washington, Oregon, San Francisco, Denver, Colorado, okay, all of these different protests. Students for Democratic Society, the Communist Party, the Southern Christian Conference. None of these people care about America. And it's the same thing going on today. I don't care if it's the left or the right. They're doing the same bullshit. I think that's why they don't want you to read this, because this goes on for page after page after page. You mean to tell me that everything the FBI said? I get the King family thinks, that it was not right for them to wiretap MLK. Maybe they had good reason to. Okay, again, that was because this was, they still at that point, the communists wouldn't have had complete control of the CIA and FBI yet. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's the timing of all the deaths was all like 63 to 68. Okay, once you get into the 70s. That's why the video I did 2 days ago, where the memo is just ripping on middle Americans being able to hoodwink them so easily, and you can tell it's coming from a certain party, okay? But that was 1977. So once you got into the 70s, I think it's safe to say that you pretty much had your communists, your radical leftists in the CIA, in the FBI, and they just have multiplied and infected since then, okay? Just like they have in the universities. But this still was, legit FBI, I would say, like, that's writing all this, that had concerns about MLK. Because again, they're making demands. See, it goes on for, activities of possible interest tentatively scheduled. Okay, first, 68? These are all, because they were going to have all these groups rise up. Do people remember the summer of 2020 when, with the George Floyd? That's what they wanted to create with that, was this again. These people divide our country. That's what they do. Again, I'm not going to just blame the left. The right's doing it too. We have people that could care less that everyday Americans are silenced. All they care about is having control of their base, whether it's the young people control base that Charlie Kirk has, or it's whatever Candace Owens base she has. None of them being MAGA, in my opinion, because MAGA should be about the opposite of that bullshit, because it's that bullshit that got us to where we are. And this was, from the MLK files, because they were always had newspaper clippings that they were, monitoring. You could say that's right or wrong, but I think it's telling. This was, I don't know when this, I think it was a book or an article, but you could see Jim Garrison really found the answer to the murder mystery of the century, a conspiracy involving the CIA, renegade, neo-Nazi Minutemen, and anti-Castro Cuban exiles. Who knows? We've heard that forever. Okay, so this is just an article. Again, I don't think we'll ever know for sure, because there were so many interest groups involved in all of this. And communists were, from the beginning, always trying to take over America, and still are. So when James Lindsay talks about the woke right, he's not joking.